Hello, everyone, and welcome back to WOR here for Tier 2, Round 3, Azerbaijan. I'm joined by Sapitron, as always. Hello, Sappy.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here as always. Apologies for a little bit of messiness in the background, but you know what? We keep moving.
Yep, and we're here for Azerbaijan, but it's a bit different to normal. It's the sprint week. So we have the short qualifying as usual, then we have a 9-lap sprint race, followed by our usual 50% race, which will be 26 laps. So it's going to be something different to normal, but it's going to be exciting, especially around Azerbaijan. It's not a track we really see for league racing much anymore, especially over these past few months. So seeing it back, but with the whole sprint race twist, it could be definitely very interesting.
Yeah, so the sprint race is kind of a little bit of a wild card,
Yeah,
and of course, with F122 being the first game in the series to actually introduce the format, it is kind of a little bit of an unknown when you look at
yeah.
sort of the history of league racing, and kind of what a sprint brings to the table, especially considering some of the points and some of the positions it could lend to some
Yeah,
drivers. It's definitely something that could play with or against you depending on your strengths as a driver.
yeah, definitely. I suppose there might be people who could be good in qualifying pace, could maybe get themselves on the front row, maybe the second row, but then in the sprint race, you've got 9 laps. That's still a good 10, 20 minute, 10, 15 minutes spending if you have safety cars, which, you can drop a few positions then. Then going into the race, you might have lost 3 or 4 positions, and then you're going to lose more. So you've got to make sure that, I think in my eyes, when it comes to a sprint week, it's all about the race pace because you've got technically 2 races to do. I know sprints class as sprint quali, but it's basically a short race. But we're going to look at the standings from last week, and I'm sorry if they're a bit squashed up, but Daniel Yeltsin takes the championship lead over JST, leading over by 8 points. He had a really good race in Kota, took the win. Jay unfortunately scoring only 8 points, so that's obviously put him on the back foot. And then Janik Schmidt, who is a reserve, is also the second and one of the only 2 drivers, sorry, that has scored podiums on both races, scoring second and third, and he's on the exact same amount of points as Jay. And then Cameron Dowds in fourth. He's on 28 points, and we go down to Harvey on 22, and then Leroy on 20. So between the top two, I mean the top six, it is around what? I think it's 20 points, which is very, very close. And there's definitely, this race could even change it because you got 8 points if you win the sprint race, if I'm correct, and if you win the normal race as well, that's 25 points, which means you could come out of here with 32 points, which will be very good for your championship. And then we look at the team's championship, and Alfa Romeo lead with Yeltsin and Bogdan with 41 points. And then Jay and Jack are in second with 33. And then probably the constructor that's done the best in terms of scoring consistent points will be McLaren, who are on 32, with Harvey scoring 12 and 10, and Philip scoring 6 and 4. Whereas the others, you can see the top two, Bogdan only scoring 1 for Alpha, and Jack scoring none for Williams. So those two are kind of being carried by Jay and Daniel. But maybe we'll see a change today. And then one last thing to note on the standings, Mercedes and Aston Martin still with 0 points on the board. Aston Martin had a really bad race in round one. They got into round two. They possibly even a worse race.
Yeah, it's looking real rough for them. I'd say Mercedes in particular is kind of one that we saw with, say, Sergio Sabrino,
Mm-hmm.
out on track, really seeming to be having a little bit of trouble. But anyway, that is for the track to settle. As you say, potential 32 points on the line. And looking at the calendar, Azerbaijan, of course, round three here. First sprint weekend of two on the calendar. The only other sprint weekend comes all the way in round nine with Saudi Arabia. So, bit of a break between them, but of course, Azerbaijan does not disappoint. And then after this round, and one thing you definitely want to subscribe to, stay tuned in for, is some of the iconic tracks on the calendar, like Spa-Francorchamps, the Hungaroring. Portimao makes an appearance alongside Paul Ricard. And then you get into the second half of the calendar, like Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Yas Marina, Imola, Shanghai making an appearance, something you don't really see on the league calendars all that much before Silverstone, and rounding off finally with the Austrian Grand Prix in the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah. The thing I like about this calendar, I think, you look at some of the tracks you've got. Azerbaijan, it's a track you see, but it's not a track you see all the time. You've got Hungary, that's not normally featured. I think the last time it was featured in WO was something like season 9. You've got Portugal, you've seen that pop up here and there. You don't see much of France, you don't see much of Jeddah, you don't see much of Imola, and China's one I don't think I've ever actually commentated on before on this game. Obviously, I did on the last game, but on this game, I don't think I've ever commentated over a China race. So that'd be very interesting, and plus, because it's not really on the real F1 calendar, you don't see many people actually driving the track. You see people driving the tracks that the real F1 cars are racing as of now. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And especially another thing that'll be interesting about China is we haven't actually seen the new cars with the new regulations race there in real F1. So that's going to be another interesting thing as well. Obviously, they were meant to race this year, but they haven't. So maybe next year. And that's where we'll first see these 2022 regulations around there. So that should be definitely an interesting race.
Yeah, so by then, a lot of the cars will have their sort of packages dialed in as well. Not to mention, I mean, we've got reveals as early as tomorrow from Haas F1 team, which is going to be pretty exciting. I'm personally looking forward to that. But yeah, say Shanghai. And I think one thing I appreciate most about this calendar is just daring to be unique. I mean, we finish in Austria, and then Abu Dhabi, typically in Ender, is 4 rounds away from the finish. But I think that is the timer to get in, so we should probably move on to the track map quickly.
Yep.
And yeah, taking a look at the track, of course, it is the Baku City Circuit. 20 corners and known for its ridiculously high speeds along the start-finish straight. So low wings potentially, 3.73 miles, 6 kilometers, 2 DRS zones through turns 1 and turn 3 are where your major flashpoints are going to be. Of course, drivers are going to be pushed to their absolute limits coming through places like the castle section, and then that final third sector, tight and technical, coming out into a much faster approach on a downhill. A lot of tests of bravery in Azerbaijan, and hopefully something that we see coming to full fruition here in Tier 2.
Yeah. Should be an interesting one. I love the track. Not always best for racing, but it's always good for seeing how good the drivers are on a street circuit. I'd say it's one of the hardest street circuits on the calendar. But yeah, we're not being out. It's a dry, sunny day here in Baku, so we don't have to worry about people having to go out in the wet weather tyres. Luckily, and it's going to be an interesting one for sure, because you've got Jay obviously doing a really good performance in the first race. But in the second race, he wasn't there. So, will we see him and possibly Harvey and Lefty get up there again this week? But we've got some cars out on track, and that, I believe, is one of the Hasses, which is Andre Molnar, who's going to be one of the first drivers out. We'll go back. We'll get the telemetry on as well. There we go. Andre's just charging down towards turn 3. Obviously, this is the second DRS zone on the track. Yeah, so it's definitely, and obviously you come through this end of sector one, it's always difficult here. You've got to be careful not to lock up, because if you're not confident under braking, this is not the track where you want to be. You've got to be pitch perfect with your braking. Then you've got this horrible chicane, which you've got to be yet again be careful you don't hit too much curb. You've got to be careful on the pair on the exit. Then you come in towards the castle section, and you've got to hop the curb there, get on the pair nice and early. And then this is the horrible castle. Got to be careful. You're going to push it to the limit, but not hit the wall. Then you're on the exit castle at turn 12. Yet again, that curb there, another place that you can spin. Then you're charging down towards, I like to call a Giovinazzi corner. Yet again, don't lock up here either, otherwise you're in the wall and you are done for. There we go. Very nice from Andre. And then he'll be getting ready to start his lap very, very shortly.
I think this is, if nothing else, not even so much a test of the package as it is a test of driver confidence. You've got to be confident on the brakes, confident on turning, confident that your car is going to behave how you expect it to.
Yeah.
And as we head down, start finish straight now, speeds of about 205 plus miles an hour, approaching onto that 215 mark. You think, say, such downforce heavy machines not capable of such high speeds. But there you go. Nice and clean through turn 1, really maximizing the edges of the circuit. You see close these drivers are running to the walls. It's a street circuit. There is absolutely no room for error. And yeah, Andre Molnar is really pushing the envelope very early into the session. Still got 15 minutes to go. You usually see these kind of laps almost being used as testers, feeling out your limits. But Molnar is going straight in, head first. Absolutely no holding back here. And it's a great line heading through. Almost looks like they over-rotated a tiny bit, but catching it nice and cleanly, heading into the castle section here.
Yep, in towards turn 7 now. And you can see, look how close he's to the wall on the exit there, turn 7. Into the castle section, he's got to be careful here. And you can see he's got to push. But he's got to be careful not to hit the wall. Because you hit the wall there, you're most likely going to be DNF'd or blocking the way, which isn't ideal. And there's definitely a few cars behind. I think it's one of the Williams behind him, or one of the Red Bulls. But we're going to go on board now. Charges down towards turn 15. Got to be careful not to lock up, otherwise you're going straight into that wall and there's no getting out of that. Now in towards turn 16. Yet again, you've got to make sure you can take some curb, but not too much. You don't want to beach it and bottom out. Now it's a long charge through sector 3, through turn 17 up to 20. And you can see he's got to try and take the most ideal line he can. Keeps it nice and tucked into the wall on the exit 19. Now charging down towards the line. At a maximum of around 350 kilometres on his first run, down towards turn 1. And this time he goes first with a 39.1 because he's the only one to set a lap. Next we'll go on board with lefty JSD. Goes quicker by 2/10 with a 39.9. Jack Humphries, a 38.9 as well. And we'll go on board with lefty. Then he's just coming through the final couple of corners. Lefty looking really quick in the first round. I don't think he attended on the second round, and obviously making his return here in Azerbaijan to see what he can do up to the line now. Where does lefty put his Alpha Tauri?
So Gianpietro,
quickest,
38.5. Yeah, I was about to say, really great initial showing from the Williams, but there you go. That's the Alpha Tauri immediately coming in and having absolutely none of it, pipping Gianpietro by 12 milliseconds.
Very nice. Yannick Schmidt goes 6th. We've got to see Cameron into 3rd, his teammate in 2nd, so a very good start for Alpine here in this qualifying session. Philip Sousa goes 11th with a 39.1, just 4 thousandths behind the back of Andre Molnar. And Bogdan Moldovan, exactly a 10th quicker than Andre Molnar. But we're on board with Tom Martinez now in the Ferrari to see where he can go. He was actually at one point about to drop out the race due to his internet connection. It looks like he's fine now, and he's looking to charge up towards the line. Let's see what time he can put on the board. It will be a 39.2. Not very good at all, puts in P15. His teammate, then he's 16th. Tony Richet goes 3rd. Very nice for Mercedes. But Harvey Cohen, the last of the runners to come up to the line, goes quickest, a 38.4.
Wow. I mean, just initial runs, you're seeing how much drivers are absolutely pushing the limits here. 38.4. That's a tough bar to clear.
It is. Really, really is. You know, also, it's nice to see Tony up there in 4th. Mercedes scoring no points. Tony scoring no points. He'll definitely want to get some points on the board today. He's obviously got a sprint race, which comes up soon, so that's another opportunity for more points. Daniel Yeltsin, championship leader, down in 9th. 2nd in the championship, JSD down in 10th. And 3rd in the championship, Yannick Schmidt down in 11th. So 9 to 11th is a top 3 in the championship, which isn't really something you'd be imagining to stay. Whereas Lefty, who's got no points so far, in 2nd. Harvey, he's had a good run in the last couple of races, but hasn't scored a podium yet. He's in 1st. Gianpietro, I don't think he's scored any points either. He was looking quite good in Kota. I think he qualified in the top 3. But he obviously had I think it was a DNF or a spin on the last few laps when it went to the dry conditions.
Yeah, and it has kind of been a rough and tumble. I'd say especially surprising for me out there is, Tony Richet, P4 right now for the Mercedes suit. And everyone is making that mad dash back to the pit lane in order to get prepped for their next run here. Yeah. But yeah, Modesto Mena, though, saying that, Mercedes, only driver yet to put a time on the board, so hopefully they set out soon.
Yeah, would be great if they did get out, get Modesto on a lap, but we'll have to see. You know, if you can get, well, they should be able to get one in time, but it depends with track limits. I don't actually know why he's not set a lap, because I'm sure he was out with everyone else, but he might have invalidated or something, or hit the wall. So we should hopefully see him out soon, trying to get a lap in. We've also got Andre Molnar back out Yes, we have. Getting out nice and early again to beat the pack. Only setting a 39.1 on his first lap. That just puts him in the bottom 5, so you want to get yourself into that top 10. I think Andre scored 1 point this season so far. His teammate, Balas Palmer's not here, so we've got Zelenkiewicz in the other Haas. And speaking of Haas release their car tomorrow. Well, release their livery tomorrow at 2 p.m. GMT, so that should be an exciting one to watch. If anyone's in the chat, let us know what colour do you think the Haas will be. Because I think it's all good and easy saying red, white and black, but I think they're going to have a hint of grey in it. I think it's going to be red, grey and black. I don't think there'll be much white on the car. What does everyone else think?
I personally think that there's going to be a lot more red this time out.
Oh.
Of course, they have got MoneyGram, and their primary colour is red, and of course Haas's main colour is red as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot more red on the car, or at least a lot more red accents. I think the base coat will still be white, but I don't know. Maybe they could get a bit more playful with some of the gradients here.
You look at MoneyGram and you think that logo is perfect for Haas. It contrasts so well. Red and grey, red and white, you know, that type of colour scheme. And Haas run near enough the exact same colour scheme. But enough about Haas's livery. More about watching the Haas car on track. And that is Andrei Molnar, one of the ET8 guys. There's loads of ET8 here today. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 14th and 15th, all in ETA. But yeah, onward with Andre now, in towards turn 1, setting his second lap. Got to improve, get himself into the 38s at least to make somewhat of an improvement. But we're just on board with him as he comes in towards turn 2. The DRS will be open for him as he charges down towards turn 3. You can see some of the cars getting in the way. I think a Haas has gone straight on down at turn 3 as well. I can see him reversing, just getting out of the way. I think that was, well, it would have been Zelenkiewicz. There we go, in towards turn 4 now shortly, to getting ready to go into that horrible little chicane area. But there's lots of traffic about, so this could be a big issue for Andre. I think he timed this a little bit wrong. We'll go on board, in towards the chicane now, 6 and 7, charging down towards 8 very shortly. Let us know in the chat what the quality of the stream's like, just so I know if I need to change anything. But yeah, Andre into the castle section now. Oh, he's gone straight on and hits the wall. That is what you need to be careful with. Locking up. He's gone brave, but he's just gone straight to the wall and locked up. That's not what you want.
I don't think it's anything more than simply seeing the car already going into the castle section. He was going fast. He knew he basically had no way to get around him. And I think he just sort of panicked. I think that split second is all it took for them having no choice but to basically abandon the run. So they're going to have to limp back with a broken front wing as well. Not that it was a full attempt or loss or anything.
Yeah. I was on board with Bogdan Moldovan, and I was going to see at the end of this sector if he's lost time. I believe he did, because coming into turn 1, he had a really weird snap. So he let off the throttle completely, got back onto it, and then had another snap, so he had to get back onto it. And yeah, he's lost time there. So he's definitely got lots of time to gain in that first sector. He's now charging down towards turn 8 himself, or turn 7, as he begins to go into the castle section. He's going to hope he doesn't make the same mistake as Andre did, and John Pietro. Oh, and Bogdan's out! He's hit the wall in the castle section.
And that's it. That is a roadblock right in dead center of the castle section, so nobody's going to get an attempt in if they're on one right now. I mean, you look at Harvey Cohen right now. He's pushing, and there is a car right in the middle. Luckily, Tier 2, good racecraft on display.
Yeah.
A lot of drivers are able to avoid it with relative ease, but still, it's a scare for anyone not expecting it.
It is. People really starting to improve the times now. Corner to Backer goes up to 4 to the 38.6. And I think there was someone else who improved up. Yeah, it was John Pietro. He obviously come up to first with the 38.2. Yannick Schmidt, 38.4, puts him on the front row provisionally. We definitely got a few people around the bottom changing up positions. But we're on board with Cameron Dowds as he's coming in towards turn 8. And he's actually down by 0.3.
Good to say. Yeah, a little bit of shifting around, especially on the mid-pack. But yeah, Modesto Mena finally out on a lap now, and kind of has a point to prove, I imagine. At this point, no matter what lap you set, just get a lap on the boards, because even having a lap on the boards guarantees that you're not going to be absolutely dead last by default. So definitely worth that initial push. It's looking like a strong one, but is it going to be enough to crack the 38s? It's not quite. It's a 39.084, but that still puts them ahead of Molnar and Mark Schluter.
Yep, I'm on board with Tom Martinez. Actually, no, he's completed his lap. Excuse me, that. We're on board with... We'll go on board with Tony Richet. Harvey Cumm's gone second with a 38.3. Simon Lekomsky just 4 thousandths behind him in P3. So the times are really starting to ramp up now. We're on board with Tony. He's down by 600ths in that final sector. And he's spun! And he's hit the wall and he's lost his front wing.
Well, he
So
already
that is...
had a minor tap earlier in the 3rd sector, so I think it was only a matter of time. Overthinking a little bit, and this is the result.
Yep, on board with Leroy Brown. Currently coming in towards turn 7 now. Shortly into the castle section. We'll keep on board with him now. Into the castle, takes it perfectly. Switch down to 5th, third, back up to 4th on the exit. Very nice there. And he's now going to be charging all the way down towards turn 15. And we'll be able to see what time Leroy Brown can get on the board. He's currently on 38.5. And I believe he's still on time, but we'll see. You can see that nice trail breaking in towards turn 15. Nice one on the exit now, charging towards turn 16. And he's actually not on a lap. So that was a waste of time. Daniel Yeltsin has gone 7th with 38.6. Jack Humphries currently 9th. He's going to be charging into pit lane as well. I don't think we're going to get many people on a lap at all. Philippe Saus is not on a lap. Modesto Main is not on a lap. So everyone's done for their second runs. For some, like Modesto, first run. Obviously Bogdan out, 39th lap, so he's done for. Probably will drop into that 20th spot for the sprint race. But for the top 8, which is currently John Pietro, Harvey, Simon, Yannick, Lefted, Leroy, Daniel and Cornet, they're looking to possibly score points in that sprint race if they can keep those positions. Obviously, we've still got another couple of runs for some people left, so that could change it all up into the final few laps. We've got 4 minutes left of the session.
It looks like that median point is about, 138.6. So I imagine a lot of drivers are aiming for that, because at least if they know they can hit that 138.6, anything above that immediately puts them in that top 10 in a really good form for the sprint.
Yeah, definitely. Well, P8 down to P13 is between a 10th. P5 down to P16 is just about 4/10. So it's very close between those guys in the midfield. Obviously, Gian Pietro setting a lap nearly 10th quicker. And then Harvey and Simon nearly a 10th quicker of Yannick. And then Yannick's nearly over a 10th quicker than Lefted. So the top 4 are very separated. But after that, it's very, very close down towards the bottom where Mark Schluter, only 20th, he's 1.1 seconds off, which is not what he wants at all, is it, really? A 39.3 is not where you want to be at this point in the session. You want to be at least in the 38s by now, probably a 38.7 would be perfect, so you can improve on your final run. And I think most people are going out for their final run now. Yet again, one of the first out, Andre Molnar, but we'll swap over this time because he was with him last time. We'll go aboard with Lefted, who's actually second in the train of all the people going out for their final laps. He is got the 5th, his teammate in 3rd, so looking good for AlphaTauri so far in this qualifying session.
Yeah, camera can pull socks up a little bit. It can also look like a very, very good weekend for Alpine too. Gian Pietro right at the sharp end of the field.
Yeah.
And McLaren, I'd say, has the biggest disparity across the field. You've got Harvey Cohen up P2, but then Felipe Salsa all the way down in a P16. That's the biggest gap between 2 teammates that we have on track.
You see, it's not what you want at all for these guys. 2nd to 16th, it's going to be hard for Philippe to convert into points. If he's not careful, he's going to have to push. When you push, that creates risk, and risk round here is not always rewarded. And I'm sure the Red Bulls of Daniel and Max can say that when they crashed in 2018. Or 2017 down in towards turn 1. So hopefully we see no teammates do that today. We've also had a crash, I think, of a car who's hit the wall, but he's moved now. I think it might have been Jay or Leroy, I'm not quite sure. But we're going on board with Lefted now as he begins his final qualifying lap of the session.
We'll just have to see what tricks they can play at the back. Of course, they've got 38.5, so they're already in a very good position. But see if they can make any improvements there. I'd say at this point, just sort of be willing to push it that little bit further. And as you see there, a little bit of sliding on the rear there, a little bit of fishtailing. Does manage to catch it though. Lefted is looking like they are controlling their car very nicely. Right close to the wall, trail braking it as much as they can. and really sort of flying through these corners here. What's we're looking like on the sector? Is it an improvement? No, it's a slight loss. 1.5 tenths, in fact. So they're going to have to pick that up through potentially the castle section or going out into the start-finish straight. Hops the curbs, keeps the car steady. Cannot afford to be too careful through castle. Oh, bumps the wall in a big way, though. That's the front right side. Doesn't look like any visual damage, however. They do seem to be a little bit shaken from the ordeal. It's looking like, as we head through the second sector, is that going to be any more of a time loss? Yeah, big understeer. That's hitting the wall again. Left, it is not looking like they are having the best of times right now.
Yeah.
They're saying that they have made up a little bit of time. Checkered flag has fallen, so at this point, it just has to commit. Has no real choice but to keep it going. And saying that is right into the wall. Just cooks it way too hard in the corner. And he's marooned right on the racing line.
Yep, I was watching Jack Humphries then. You can see he's just on the racing line, which is a big shame for drivers coming through. Selenkiewicz goes 6th with a 38.5. Jack Humphries to the line now. Where does he go? Goes up to P4. We're going to go on board with Yannick Schmidt. He's actually down, so we'll go on board with Simon Klopsy. He's down as well. Harvey Cohen's down by 14 seconds. John Pietro Aguiano, however, is still on the lap, so we'll go on board with him now as he comes in towards turn 16. JSD, second in the championship, finishes 13th. Mark Schluter's got no front wing. Modesto Mena's up by 2 tenths. Let's see where he can go. Cameron Dowd's up to 5th with a 38.4. Tom Martin's up to 11th. Very nice from him. And that is Lars Butterman up to 4th with a 38.3. Modesto Mena only manages 16th in his Mercedes, but we're going on board with Tony Richet now, who's up by 2 tenths in that middle sector. Let's see, can he improve on his final run of the session and get himself into that top 10? Daniel Yeltsin, championship leader, down in 13th for the sprint race. Not where he wants to be. Tony Richet up to the line. Goes 8th, puts himself into that top 10. Leroy Brown down by 2.7 seconds, so that's his qualifying over. Harvey Cohen, the last driver, and he's not on a lap at all. He is finished. So, there we have it, everyone. For the for the sprint race, Aguiano, Harvey, Simon, Lars, Jack, Cameron, Yannick and Tony take up your top 8. So they'll be looking to score points in the next 9-lap race.
And really, with the sprint race, it is almost like, I would almost argue, and when we were saying earlier about race pace being the big factor, I'd kind of argue the opposite way. I'd say that sprint is almost treated like an extended qualifying. Yes, you don't have the same speed, because you still have to carry a bit more fuel and you have to manage your tyres a bit more. But at the end of the day, there's no real manner of tyre strategy, so to speak. It's just softs, all of the softs.
Yeah.
And pushing as hard as you can before going from the defensive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it'll be softs or mediums, actually. I'm not quite sure about that one. But we should be having everyone into the pit lane soon. Yeah, Mark Schluter is in the pit lane. There we go. We're finished. So there we go. That is the qualifying over. The 18-minute short qualifying session done and dusted. It was a very interesting final few minutes. Obviously, Gianpietro kept pole by nearly a tenth of a second to Harvey. Absolutely amazing there from Gianpietro. Put the Alpine on pole. His teammate in 6th, so looking good for the crew over at Alpine. Lefty was looking like a quick one as well, but he's down in 9th. But then the biggest surprises are, we look a bit further down the order. We've got the championship leader, 14th. Then we've got the championship contender of JSD, 15th. But the guy who's looking to take the championship as well, Yannick Schmidt, up in 7th. So it's looking good for Yannick. If he can get a couple of points in the sprint, it's better than nothing. But then he's got to make sure he can on it for the race. I can't see Daniel and Jay getting onto the podium at all this week unless they run some absolute master strategy. But it's nearly time for the sprint race. And I think we're going to get everyone ready to go. What do you think is going to happen, Slappy? Any predictions?
I know that we'll see a lot of shuffling up and down in the mid-pack.
Yeah.
But yeah, those top runners, they kind of have prime opportunity to bank all of the points here today, especially if you're on those front 2 rows. All it takes is a good getaway, a little bit of clean air, let everyone else fight and let everyone else jostle for space. And especially with Baku, it's so easy to make a mistake, have an accident and back up the entire track. and they'll be home free.
I feel like, for me, I feel obviously the person in second on lap 7 will be the person in first at the end of lap 9. I think that whoever's going to be in second will just stick behind and get the DRS. It could be Harvey, it could be Gianpietro. I'm not quite sure, but we've got 10 seconds to go before the lights get underway here at Azerbaijan for the first of 2 races. Obviously, this one's only 9 laps, which is around 35%, I think, of a normal Grand Prix weekend. But here we go. We can see all the cars lined up on the grid. Last time we had a sprint race here, it was Lewis Hamilton going down at turn 1, but we have 4 lights, 5 lights. And it is lights out for the sprint race here at Baku. Really nice start from Gianpietro, but Harvey also having a good start. Let's see, does he pressure Gianpietro into turn 1? No, but sends Gianpietro a little bit wide there, but keeps the lead. Gianpietro still in first. Look further down, we've got a big incident there with a Red Bull. I think that's Lars Butterman down at turn 1. We've also got Jack Humphries on the back of Cameron Dowd. Cameron's up himself into 4th position. We've got Lefted making up 3 positions on that star there. Put himself into that top 6. Yannick Schmidt going to be looking to fight at him in towards turn 3. We've also turn 4, sorry. We've also got a Red Bull getting involved. That's Leroy Brown on the back of Yannick Schmidt, nearly making contact with Yannick in that first sector. We've also got Daniel and Tom fighting down for P12. These two getting really close, and also Nestor Mena getting involved in towards turns 5 and 6. There you can see we've got Tom on the inside of Modesto. Modesto still sticking these front wheels in there, and it's now side by side in towards turn 7. And you can see up the inside goes Tom Martinez. Ooh, and Modesto still having that extra power in towards turn 8 at the castle section.
Has real no choice but to yield there, and Tom has to concede to P14. I think what happened in that initial incident with Lars Butterman is Simon Lekomsky, they were fighting side by side, and in fact either Simon Lekomsky closed the door or Lars Butterman just clipped Lekomsky's rear wheel, but either way he was sent round and had to sort of recover his car in the pit lane. But as it stands, everyone's sort of equilibrated themselves out a little bit. Yannick Schmidt might be looking to get a potential pass on Lefted heading into turn 3. It looks like they're poised to set up for that. Yep. And also between Gianpietro and Harvey Cohen, as that McLaren is looking hungry. It's peeking around the inside, doesn't go for it just yet, however. And he's waiting his turn, biding his time to go for a move. Potentially seeing if we can squeeze out a little bit of ERS burn. I don't know. It's a little bit of strategy that might have to start coming into things. 9 laps, you've got to make them count.
Yeah, exactly. These 9 laps are all for now. Obviously, you're going to get 8 points if you win the sprint race, 1 point if you get 8. So there's still points to play for here, but you're not going to take as much risk as you would in a normal race. Predicted strategy is mediums. But Modesto Mena going for the gamble on the softs, which I can't see working out, but we'll see. But yeah, Lekomsky and Cameron are really close to being outside that 1 second to the top 2. So I feel like that might be a little part of their strategy. Gianpietro and Harvey get away from 3rd and below and have their own little battle towards the end at lap 9. You know, we're really already halfway. We're about 25% nearly of this sprint race. So it's absolutely flying by, and so are these cars. On board with Harvey Cohen still as he's charging down towards turn 15. You can see, just sticking within 5/10 of Gianpietro. No need to push too hard and get past him. Look further at the back of the field, however, Mark Schluter on the back of Philip Sousa. Currently McLaren are separated 2nd to 19th, which is a difference of 17 positions, which is not good. However, Alpine, 1st to 4th. So Alpine are looking really good to getting some solid points here in the sprint race. Obviously, going into the normal race, they'll be starting 1st and 4th if things stay the same. So this could be a very, very profitable week for Alpine if they can get it sorted and get some proper results in on the board.
Yeah, Alpine, AlphaTauri, both teams that are looking like they are set to do very, very well here. Yeah. The fastest lap goes trickling down. It's going to be Cameron in the end in the Alpine, as speaking of, who is going to hold that fastest lap. DRS is going to get enabled. So this is where, for the likes of Harvey Cohen, the pressure is absolutely going to be on, because they're going to have DRS. The question is how they're going to apply it. They can squeeze a bit of ERS from Gianpietro on the defense, or we could potentially go fighting for moves and try to lock it in heading into castle.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to work something out here. I believe if Cameron Dowd finishes in 4th and Jay finishes down in 14th and doesn't get into the top 8, it's more than likely that Jay will be 1 point ahead of Cameron going into the 50% race. So if things finish like they are, it's going to be very, very interesting for that top 4. Because I think Daniel, depending on how he finishes the race, should be in that P1. But P2 to P4, which is Cameron, Yannick and Jay, those 3 will be the big fights. And obviously you got Leroy and Harvey, just about 8 points back off those. So this could also be good for Harvey to get himself into the championship battle again. Obviously if he gets second here, he'll get 7 points. Goes into the race, just think if he scores second, that'll be an extra 18 points. That'll take him, what, 25 points, even if he doesn't get a win. So that, it's all good for Harvey. So, Harvey's probably going to think the long game. Yes. Do I want to win the sprint race? Yes. But is it worth taking that risk to go from 7 points possibly to have incident with Gianpietro and drop to the back of the field? It's not worth it in my opinion, but each have their own opinions.
This is where the big risks start to come into play. Harvey Cohen firing it down at the inside and is going to get that move done. Question is, can they lock it in heading out and into turn 3, as now Gianpietro is going to be the one on the attack with the DRS behind him. He's going to respond by going a little bit defensive. Alpine is going to be creeping up slowly, but not quite going to make the move work just yet. So at least for a lap, Harvey's going to be treated to that sweet, sweet podium. And I think this is going to be kind of a revitalizing effort for a lot of people's potential Drivers' Championship campaigns. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But of course, we could see some big unknowns, some big third parties coming in to the championship fight thanks to something like the sprint race.
Could be possible. It's 8 points, but that's still a lot of points really when you think about it. It's some of the people here. Obviously, Gianpietro got hardly any points. He's going to be scoring 7 so far, which will be good. I'm on the board with Jack Humphries at the moment, who's just behind Cameron and Lefton, and they start to break away from the pack a little bit there. We've also got Yannick Schmidt right in behind, and he just can't get through on Jack Humphries, but he's going to want to push because you can see he gains lots on the straights. He had gained a lot on the exit there, and you can see right on the back, so we could possibly see a move from Yannick Schmidt going in towards turn 1 on the back of Jack Humphries. But it just depends, does he want to risk and take all his DRS? Use all his DRS. So we'll go on board with him now, as you can see him charging down towards turn 20, the final corner. Then towards turn 1, you can see he's got a little bit more speed than Jack Humphries. He's actually got a lot more speed than Jack Humphries. He's used a lot of his DRS though, he's only on 30%, which is not ideal. Let's see, does he go for the move in towards turn 1? He's gaining into the braking zone. Does he go to the inside? Yes, he does. And he doesn't. He was either too far back, because I couldn't see on the camera, or he wanted to bait him into a move into turn 1. So we'll see, can he get him into turn 3? Because it's ain't good for Yannick. He wants to at least get a CR for 6th place. He'll only score 2 points here in the sprint race if he doesn't get any higher. Jack's a little bit slower than him, so is Cameron at the front of this train, so he might want to get through, because he's definitely got the pace to match Harvey and Gianpietro, but if he can't get past, he can't do anything about it. He can't get up to the top, so he needs to keep in the train. And also, Daniel Yeltsin's one to notice, he's into 11th, but he keeps bobbing out of that 1 second. And considering he's a championship leader, he's just not got much pace here. So it must just be one of them tracks that Daniel doesn't like, because I'm sure we all have them. There's always that one track that you can't ever get right. And that was either a big snap from Jack or a bit of lag.
Yeah, Jack seems to be having a couple of snaps in that car. Almost as if he doesn't quite have that confidence, but he needs to sort of retain that focus. Otherwise, even though there's only 4 laps to go, and we're over the halfway point at this stage, that position can just as quickly evaporate away.
Yeah, definitely. We look at example in real life F1. We look at Kevin Magnussen started pole. Obviously, these are not realistic forms. So we look at Kevin Magnussen started pole at the end of the sprint race after, the 20 laps, whatever. You finished 8th. So, in a sprint race, a lot of things can change. You can lose lots of positions very, very quickly if you're not careful. We're going to go back on board Yannick Schmidt. As you can see, this time's about 1.5 tenths behind. He's going to get a move way done before turn 1. He's going to keep side by side with Jack into turn 1, gets through. Jack actually hit the back of him there a little bit. Yannick into 6th place now. He's going to be charging after Lefted next. Lefted's one of the quicker ones. I don't know if he'll get through on Lefted too quick, but it just had to see what pace Yannick's got and how much ERS he's got left in that tank, because he will have used a lot to get through on Jack there, down that main straight.
Still 221 miles an hour. It's not a figure to scoff at. So I think that's the highest peak speed we've seen this session. And Yannick, of course, does have a bit of hard work to do now, trying to recharge as much ERS as they possibly can before going for an attack on Lefted. About 20% difference And not to mention the fact that they are going to be doing a little bit better, I imagine, on the tyre life. So about 25% on the rears if you're running the mediums. If you're the likes of Modesto Maynard, you're looking more like 45%. So starting to real feel the wear, and Modesto Maynard just saw that as he bumped into the wall at Castle.
Yeah, we're going to go on board with you, Modesto, actually, because the question is now, when does Modesto seem to struggle? Because the softs will go soon, surely. You know, we took a big gamble there. Could have worked. I don't think it will. But we'll have to see. You know, we did start near enough last, and he's now in 12th. So it's worked for the first part. But the question is, will his tyres hold up in the next couple of laps in that middle sector? Down the main straight, you're not really going to see much of a difference. But when you're going down in towards the middle sector through like turns 6 and 7 and that, you're going to really struggle. But back on board with Gianpietro. Look how close he is to the back of Harvey. He's going to go for a move, I think. Yes, he does. Up the inside, gets past Harvey Cohen. Harvey Cohen now down to P2. Gianpietro back in the provisional lead of the sprint race here at Baku. These two have swapped positions twice before, and it looks like this time Gianpietro's going to be back into the lead. The question is, can Harvey get past him dead to turn 3? Last time Gianpietro tried that, it didn't work out. He also had a spin. I think that is Haas. And a Ferrari down at turn 1. Is he going to be close enough? Harvey's not going to be.
Looks like Tom down at the bottom of the field, dropped down massively. So now both Ferraris are 19th and 20th right at the back of the field respectively. And you're seeing a little bit of trading from the Haas further up. Andre Molnar going up to P16. But yeah, all eyes are on the front, and in particular, and as Modesto Maynard is particularly starting to struggle, 55% on those rears, not looking good by any stretch.
No.
They're really starting to give up from underneath. I think the strategy was a simple case of, okay, I'm in a fairly low position. What I can do, I can get on the softs, get some early advancement while the others are on mediums, and then simply play the more defensive role because it's harder to attack than it is to defend.
Obviously, Zelenkovic had an incident down at turn 1, so he's now dropped 2 seconds off. So this is a bit of a helping hand for Modesto, meaning he will possibly be able to hold that position on. If Zelenkovic was within DRS, that would have been very big and hard for Modesto to hang on to, because look, he's now 2 seconds behind Daniel. So he's losing lots of time on the medium runners. Back on Buddy Harvey. I don't know if he'll be close enough this time to make a move on Gianpietro. I don't think he will. But we'll still stay on board. And as I said before, the person second on the 7th lap will be first on the final lap. So the question is, will I be right? Will Harvey finish first in the sprint race and put himself on pole? Because Gianpietro's been looking really strong on pace, but Harvey, I think, has got a little bit more experience on the PC side. Obviously, he's a McLaren development driver. You know, he's proved his worth. So, you know, we might have a bit more experience in the bag to help him out in the race. But we're just going to keep on board with these two at the top.
Well, he's certainly poised to go for a move as he is charging that ERS. We're looking at about 25% difference between the two, 60 versus 35. So he's certainly poising himself to go on the attack on that final lap. And I think Gianpietro knows it too, because all of a sudden he's got a lot more conservative with that battery burn.
Yeah, definitely. However, Simon and Cameron have actually managed to keep him in the DRS. Earlier, they wasn't, but now they are. So this is good for those lot as well to keep within that train.
I think he's just looking for opportunities, but also just not going too aggressive. Oh, we see a yellow.
Bogdan.
That's Bogdan.
Yep, out of the session. Down
Bogdan
at
in the castle.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's in the castle. That's where he lost his second lap time, wasn't it? Where he DNF'd on his second lap. But keeping on board with Harvey Cohen now on the back of Gianpietro Moggiano. Will he go for the move this lap? He's getting closer.
Go time for the McLaren. It is absolutely time to make a push. Gianpietro knows it. 10% on the battery of the Alpine. He's running out of time and he's running out of battery. He's not going to have the chance. Harvey Cohen's going to push it around the outside. Harvey is going to have it into turn 1. Question is he going to be able to defend? Gianpietro has put absolutely everything into that defense down the start-finish straight, and he's only got 10% battery to his name, so even despite the best of his efforts, and with DRS at his favour, simply not going to be enough. Harvey, 30% battery, and Gianpietro looking like he's out of luck.
Yeah, that is kind of it. it's done and over for Gianpietro. Big shame for him. Obviously, he was looking to finish first, but it's a big shame, and he's now down in well, not down in second, but you know what I mean. He's lost a position. Also, look at Modesto's tyres; they've dropped off. I said, "Oh, he'll hold the position to Zelenkiewicz." He absolutely has not, and he's now dropped 5 seconds to the back of the pack. We want to keep on board with him now because we want to see if Lars can get through on him down towards turn 8. Should be able to, but you can see he's just losing so much time. Down in 13th, not where he wants to be, but could be points for Mercedes because his teammate, Tony Richet, up in 7th. So it's not the end of the world for Merck at the moment. Currently,
Modesto Mena, everything against him right now. He's got front wing damage as well. So 73% peak on the rear tyres, 11% front wing damage on the right side. So he's really struggling. He's got everything working against him right now.
And we're going to go on board with Harvey Cohen. He's coming into the final couple of corners now, where he'll take victory here in Azerbaijan for the first. Well, we're going to leave it a little bit because we're going to be too early. Here we are, Harvey Cohen looking for his first victory here of the season, and it'll be in the sprint race here at Baku. First sprint race of the season. Harvey Cohen wins it in first, with Gianpietro taking second, and Simon Komsky taking the podium here at Azerbaijan for the sprint race. And then we have Cameron Days in 4th, Lefted in 5th, Yannick Schmidt in 6th, 7th for Tony Richet, and 8th for Jack Humphries, meaning Mercedes have got their first points of the season. 2 points to their name now, with Tony Richet finished in 7th, and Aston Martin also having their first points of the season. They got 3 with Yannick Schmidt. So, really good for the guys at the front. Harvey Cohen obviously getting his first win. You know, it's nothing, you know, it's obviously not the real race, but it's a sprint race, so it's deserved. Gianpietro in 2nd, that's good points for him as well. Puts his 7 to his name. Good for AlphaTauri. Gives them what, 7, 6, that's what, 10. Also very good for Alpine. 7, that's 12. So the teams, some of the teams here really getting some big advantages. But Red Bull scored nothing, same as Alfa Romeo. And I think there's a couple of others that didn't score as well.
Yes, a Haas also another team not to score. But yeah, a lot of big shakeups at the end. Namely, Jack Humphries immediately at the start-finish line, managing to pit Leroy Brown to the top. Modesto Mena managing to recover some positions as well after Lars Butterman drops to 15th. There's a 3-way battle to the line there. And yeah, this is set up quite nicely heading into the main race.
But still to talk about, Daniel Yeltsin in 11th position and Jay down in 14th. So 2 at the top of the table, they're in the bottom 10. That's not where they want to be going into this race. Baku's a difficult track to make moves. And if they're struggling on pace, making a move around here won't be so easy. So we could see some struggles for those two. But you never know, they could get into the punch. We could see some cars ahead of them, DNF. We don't know. But we'll have to find out when we start the race, which will hopefully be very soon. Everyone will be getting the setups ready, getting all the what's it call it now? There's tyre strategies, the fuel strategies, because that is really where you're going to gain and lose here. You know, overtaking, once you get into that DRS train, it's going to be difficult. But if you can get a strategy that works, maybe pitting earlier, pitting later, taking a different type of compound, that's where you're going to really benefit. And also, safety cars are bound to happen here, surely. So, we could see a safety car in the mix that could choose people to go for different types of tyres as well. We're going into the final few parts of the race. So this is going to be very, very interesting. I'm excited. Are you happy?
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we saw some of the fireworks going off on track. And it's looking like that is going to continue into the full... Well, can we call it a feature race?
As far as we can, yeah.
I suppose we can call it a feature race. Either way, it's 3, 4, 5 red lights. The track is hot. And we are away. Harvey Cohen, of course, starting P1, but doesn't quite get that getaway they were looking for. Gianpietro immediately trying to look for it, but managing to get a little bit of space on him. AlphaTauris get reunited P3 and 4 as there's big shuffles around the mid-pack. Everyone's fighting for positions. I believe that's a disconnection from Corne de Baca, and that is a Williams of Jack Humphries getting tipped seemingly on the rear, losing a lot of pace very, very quickly. 3 abreast in the mid-pack, heading down into turn 3, and everyone just trying to find some opportunity. Corne de Baca and Zelenkiewicz make contact, along with a lot of other drivers. A bit of a big scuffle in this mid-pack, but looking up at the top, you've got a fairly clean getaway from the top three, and then almost a second splitting Simon Lakomsky and Cameron Lefted, dropping back down to P5.
Yeah, watching this little train here between P14 and P18. Now these are getting very close into turn 7. We've got the Haas up the inside. That's Selenkiewicz on Philip Sousa. And then Mark Schultz just in behind them. I think it was a bit of a bad connection for Jack Humphries, causing about 5 cars to have a bit of an incident down at turn 1. We've also had a spinner. That is Bogdan Moldovan. Down at the castle section yet again. It's not what Bogdan wants at all. He's DNF 3 tight. Well, he's had 3 collisions there, 2 DNFs. And also, I think that was a front wing flying away there. Tom Martinez has dropped down lots of positions as well. Philip Sousa up the inside of Tom Martinez as well. Tom's lost a lot of pace. Not what he wants at all. We'll go up the further afield a little bit, and we can see Modesto Maynard just behind. Oh, it's had another spinner. That is, who's that? Oh, I don't know. We had another spin up. That was, sorry. Modesto Maynard on the back of Jack Humphries, gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining down towards turn 1. Jack already 1.5 seconds off Daniel Yeltsin. Started 11th, now up into 7th. But we'll have a look at the tyre compound, see what tyres everyone are on. And there we go. So we've got Daniel going for the alternate strategy on the mediums. Every single other person on the hards. That's Tony Richet out in the pit lane. The only Mercedes to be in points is out. But Modesto Maynard, however, could cling on to some points in this race. Currently 9th on the back of, I believe that is Jack Humphries, going around the inside into turn 4, up into P8 now. But he's lost lots of time. He's now 2 seconds behind the back of Daniel Yeltsin. So he's got a lot of time to make up here in these next few laps. But he's in P8, which is very good. Tony Richet's left the session. So very bad start for him. Bogdan and Leroy onto soft tyres now. So they would have had lost some wing. Lost their front wing, and then Tom Martinez onto medium, so he would have lost his front wing as well, or had damage. So those at the bottom not going too well at all. And you can see, look at Jack Humphries, how close he gets to the walls in that castle section. But he's just not able to keep on the back of Modesto. Modesto's just a lot quicker in this section. Going back of Jay, he's on the back of Cornet. Cornet's lost a little bit of time through the castle, so we could see Jay possibly get a move on him down towards turn 1. But we're about to start lap 3. And it feels like we've had action for about 20 laps worth already. And we've also got Tom and Leroy fighting now down at, I think that's the castle section. Cameron getting past, Lefty getting past Cameron. That's one to watch now as we charge down towards turn 1. Daniel Yeltsin also getting involved, and Yannick Schmidt here. We've got a full weight fight for P4 in this race. 1.6 seconds between Simon and Lefted, so no DRS help next lap. Let's see, will there be any moves be made? Now down towards turn 1. No moves made just yet, but you can see Cameron right on the back of Lefted now. These two getting very, very close. Also, Daniel having a bit of a slide on the exit. Goes up the inside of Cameron, days into turn 2. Really nice there from Daniel Yeltsin into P5 now. He started 11th, now up to 5th. But Cameron Dave's coming back at him. Round the outside in towards turn 4 now. Let's see, can he get through? It's going to be close, and he does get through. Daniel's still going to push after him into turn 4 now. And you can see Cameron right in the wall there. And he's still got to be committed. Has a little bit of a lock-up, but still get through the corner safe and sound. So that's Daniel Yeltsin up into P5 now.
Big trade-ups happening at the top end of the field. But the big thing in all of this is that the top 3, Cowan, Ogiano and Lakomsky, all making a break for it, seeing as P4 through to P7 are scuffling and fighting between each other. Yannick's still looking for a move on Cameron. And yeah, Tony Richet being our first retirement of the session. I do believe he had an altercation with Jack Humphries, which caused him to lose his front wing. Jack Humphries seeming to come out of it fine, though, so of course we'll have to wait and see what comes out of it that.
We'll be interested to see what happens between those in the stewards' inquiries. But Cameron has lost the 1 second to Daniel, because Daniel's on mediums. He'll be quicker, of course. So that's not good for Cameron. He's in 6th, he's not got DRS, whereas Yannick has. So we're going to go over to Yannick and see if we can get through on Cameron down in towards turn 1. But Cameron, however, has actually got himself back into that 1 second gap. So is he going to get DRS at C? Because it didn't look like it, but it's definitely a possibility now. And has he got it? Yes, he has. Barely, but we're on board with Yannick still, and he hasn't gained absolutely anything. Also, sorry to look at the lead. Gian Pietro on the up the inside of Harvey Cohen into turn 1. Still got to fight into turn 2 now. These two getting really, really, really close together. And Harvey's going to get DRS, isn't he, down towards turn 3? Yes, he is. But is he going to do anything? We'll have to see. 1.5 tenths now. Is Harvey going to go? No, he's 6 back. That's a clever move from Harvey. Daniel Yeltsin, however, on the back of Cameron yet again. Gets through on Cameron. Cameron's really trying to push after Daniel, but just can't get through. So this could still battle for these guys. It's still going to continue for a long, long time between P5 now. Then to P7, you've also got Modesto and Jack Humphrey's getting involved. So this is getting really spicy for these guys now in P5 and below. Just sees Daniel doesn't have the pace to catch up to Lefted now. And Yannick, however, wanted to get on with this right behind Cameron Dowd. You could see possibly Yannick going for a bit of an aggressive move on Cameron sooner or later, because these two really don't want to be hanging around.
Yeah, just looking for that opportunity now. I'd say Kjeldsen done really well there. Just made the most of the medium compound. +6 in terms of positions. So really made a good job of being on that alternate strategy. Hopefully, if this means they can also beat out the cadence of all the other drivers on the hard compound. Almost like we've seen previously, Kjeldsen's been a bit of a merchant for running the lesser trodden path and running those alternate strategies, going for a little bit more aggressive in terms of the overcuts or the undercuts, and somehow making it work really, really well. So that ability to manage the scenario is really going to play into their favor. Say Harvey Cohen right now, 3/10 behind Ogiano. He's going to have the DRS, but not going to do anything with it. I think Harvey is just waiting for that optimal time to go for it. It's just waiting for Gianpietro to exhaust a bit of their resource, maybe feel a little bit too much pressure and see them start to crack. That's when they jump in, because the lead of a race, when you get a situation like this, it's almost like a pendulum. And when you get demoted to the other side of the pendulum in P2, you have to wait your turn a little bit. And I think Cohen is kind of playing to that rhythm.
But talking to Cameron, Cameron Dowd, then in 7th. So he lost the position to Yannick then to start finish straight. So considering he started 4th, he's now down to 7th. He's not where he wants to be. He's lost 3 positions. Question is, he needs to hope he can defend from Modesto and Jack, because those two are looking pretty quick as well, just behind. Obviously, Daniel has got back into DRS of Lefted now, so Daniel should be safe from overtaking for now. Lefted, however, still needs to get back into that DRS of Simon. Very surprised Simon hasn't let off to let Lefted get back into that 1 second gap, because you think he would, because I'm sure that Simon wouldn't lose too much time if he just let off a little tiny bit. Naturally, I think he might have done, because you can see Lefted just now, just above a second now, just below a second. So we've got the DRS train back now between P1 all the way down to P14. So this could get a little bit boring for now, until people get back into that, until we start seeing people lose DRS, because that's where it starts to get spicy, because people behind who have got DRS will definitely be pushing then in towards turn 1. But you look at some of these camera angles, you can just see how fast these cars are going down this start-finish straight. I think it's one of the longest straights on the Formula 1 calendar, and these guys really do be pushing it. Obviously, they've got, you've got to be careful sometimes with the setup, because generally it's a very high-speed circuit, so you want to have a set with low downforce, but at the same time, when it comes to that middle sector, you've got to sometimes sacrifice a bit of that top speed for a bit of downforce, for a bit of stability in the corners, because the last thing you want to do is bin it in Castle, because you haven't got very good downforce, and you just go straight on, or you lose it on the exit of Castle.
That grip, it's always a trade-off when it comes to tuning your car, setting it up for the different terrain, for the different types of circuits. It is always that trade-off about whether you have your car sort of softly sprung or much more stiff, or whether you have your wings very aggressive or much lower to get those higher speeds. Of course, you have to play into the characteristics of the circuits. Like, say, street circuits might not be the smoothest surfaces compared to something like, say, Portimao. But you play to your scenario, and you play to the hands that you
Daniel!
have. But Kjeldsen is out of Castle! Into marooned right in the middle. Wow.
That came to a surprise. Daniel Kjeldsen, the championship leader, out at Castle. That has thrown something into the ballpark there. Definitely didn't expect to see Daniel out.
Coming out.
Yep, it is a safety car out. There you can see down at turn 1 there, going towards turn 2, but yeah, that's a big surprise. So now it looks like Daniel might not hold his lead in the championship, because you've got Yannick and Cameron in the top 10. Jay is only going to score 2 points, so that won't be enough to get through. But yeah, this is something for Daniel. He's definitely going to have to repay his errands in the in the next couple of races, because he's going to lose possibly lose 10 points. Lefted, however, pits. So the question to me is, are they going to go for the strategy where they pit onto the softs, then pit back onto the old tyres so they can make it to the end. Because I've seen Lefty do that a few times, but we'll see. I think he is. He's onto softs. So he'll be trying to take all his hards all the way to the end without having to do his mandatory pit stop halfway through the race. So this is going to be interesting now. We've also got... Is that someone else out? Oh, I thought it said someone else was at the session then. My bad. But yeah, this is going to be interesting for these guys. So obviously, Lefty pitted. Jack Humphries has pitted onto soft, so they'll be going back onto their old tyres or onto new hards, depending what tyre allocation they've selected for this race. But then again, it does bring Leroy, Tom and Bogdan back into the race a little bit more now, so they can get involved, get back onto some hard tyres and possibly try and get some points. You never know, because surely we'll see more DNFs. Some people might DNF on track, some might DNF in the pit lane, so you know there's definitely opportunity for people like Bogdan to make a couple of positions in the rest of the race. You know, we've gone 7 laps, we've still got what, 19 remaining, so yeah, there's definitely more margin for error for some of these guys. But with all the pit stops, it's put Lars, Zelikiewicz and Mark Schluter into that top 10. So that's what, you know, that's definitely what they wanted. But the top 2 haven't really changed, have they? Obviously, Gianpietro got through on Harvey down towards turn 1, I think it was on lap 2. Then ever since then, Harvey's just stayed behind. But still very good for the Alpine. 1st and 5th, obviously, Cameron's managed to make 2 positions because Lefted, and I think it was, I can't remember who else pitted now. I think it might have just been Lefted who pitted for the soft tyres.
Yes, I think it was, say Lefted and Humphries both on the softs, and then Sousa and Leroy coming out on mediums. But I think the safety car was a blessing in disguise for Humphries in particular, because they actually had front wing damage.
Yeah.
So, front wing got replaced, kind of a mulligan almost, to sort of being thrown a bit of a safety net, saying, okay, you can change your front wing and lose relatively little. Coming back out P14 as everyone joins in the safety car queue.
Obviously, he'll be pitting again because of the softs. Cameron pits as well.
I'll say though, not sure what's going on with Bogdan, as they seem to be going extremely slow and don't seem all that eager to catch up to the safety car queue. They picked it up now, but heading at least to the approach of Castle, they were going very slowly.
Because it's something to do with Delta. What's Cameron going to do is pitting onto mediums. So I'm not quite sure what strategy's doing that, because I don't really know if mediums are at the end. I don't really see much racing around here.
Yeah, Leroy on the old hards now. A couple of drivers using this as an opportunity to fulfill the compound switch rule, and others are using to try a alternative strategy. Of course, further back in the field you are, the less risk there is to trying a bit more of an experimental strategy, an alternative. So going onto the softs or going onto the mediums for a soft stint at the end, or maybe back onto hards, not all that risky, considering at worst you'd lose maybe 3-4 positions, compared to someone at the top, when you basically have to follow the pole sitter's lead, or you are completely throwing your race. So Harvey Cohen might have the idea to switch tyres, but because Gianpietro didn't, can't really do anything. He's deadlocked.
Yeah, there's no point. It wouldn't be worth it, would it? But the thing is, you look at people like Tom Martinez on 2-lap old hards. So people like him could definitely benefit if he can get his hard. You know, if he can nurture his tyres to the end, he could benefit and probably get some good points, because obviously everyone else, 1st down to 10th, has got to pit. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I think Lefted and Philip and Jack should pit again for obviously their old hards or new hards, depending on what the tyre allocation is. Because surely they wouldn't be taking us to the end. That wouldn't even be remotely possible.
I think some wizardry would have to be involved.
Yep.
No
Definitely
other way
would be.
Explain it. Just whatever magic you can conjure.
Safety car's still going, and do they not pit? No, they don't.
Is Jack Humphries back in the pits?
Lefted hasn't. Which is an odd one, but okay. We'll have a look at the car, just double check we haven't been debated by the camera screens. No, we haven't. He's on softs. Jack Humphrey's back onto his old hards, so he's now down at the back in 18th. Yeah, very confused what Lefty's doing now, actually. Because if the safety car's in this lap, that's Lefty kind of done for. So, yeah, this is a confusing one, but we'll have to see what Lefty's plans are.
Well, Lefty might be going for fastest lap, potentially. Or going for a few positions upwards to then match maybe some of the other drivers. But beyond that, I really couldn't tell you.
I can't see it being much of a strat at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's have a look in the chat, see if anyone has any ideas of what he's trying to do.
Let's just hope that it's not a blunder on Lefted's part and he's left it too late.
Yeah, definitely not one, indeed. But I believe the safety car will be in this lap because we've got everyone back together. First down to 18th, all grouped up together now. We haven't got any 20-second gaps at the back. So, at the moment, anyone could be in a play for points here in this race. The safety car's surely going to be in this lap. Come on, safety car. We've had enough of you now. We've been with you for 3 laps. Come on, get back into the pit lane. We want to get some racing going on. But we're going to go on board with Lefty. I want to see what he's going to do. He's all I'm curious about. What's his plan? This car is in this lap. Yeah, Lefty's the one I want to keep an eye on. Into the final couple of corners now, turn 16. Charging up towards the line very shortly. Jam Petrol will probably leave it very late, because why not?
I think Lefty really has no choice but to commit at this stage and see whatever the strategy yields.
Yeah, you can see it were swerving all around, snaking as they charge down towards the straight, stop finish straight, where you can see Jam Petrol really, really holding them up. No.
There we go, he's away.
He's off.
Jam Pietro is gunning it, and he did get a bit of a jump on Harvey Cohen there.
Yep, and Lefty's going to keep on that side, so we're going to go off Lefty now. We're going to look up further ahead, because we've got Zelenkiewicz and Lars Butterman fighting for P7 now down at turn 1. Very nice. Oh, and that's
big collision.
That's corner the back down. Yeah, corner's down. Mark Schluter also fighting with Lefty. Lefty getting through a mark there, puts him into P9 now. He's going to be charging after Lars Butterman very, very soon, if he can get through a mark, which he does. This is very interesting. We're going to go back now. Look at this, Andre Molnar. Trying to put Philip under pressure, and Philip's also trying to put Mark Schluter under pressure now. As we go in towards turn 4 and 5 now. This is going to be close. What's Lefty going to do? Is he going to try and get through on Lars? He's got to get it through some point. You know, he's got to try and make this strategy work. If he's going to do it. You know, he's 2.5 tenths back. He's not going to get through on him just yet. Actually, yes, he is. He gets through on him before turn 7. Left it on a charge now up into P8. In towards turn 8 now at Castle. Let's see, will he get past anyone going up in towards turn 15? He's on the back of Zelenkiewicz on the back of Jay. And Lefty's also on the back of Zelenkiewicz, so we could possibly see a double overtake from Lefty now. He's already through on Zelenkiewicz into P7. Now he's going to be charging after Jay. Surely he is. Down towards turn 15. 3 tenths back, can't do anything just yet, but he could have a charge down towards the final couple of corners, then towards turn 1. Look at this now, Lefty right on the back of Jay. These softs have got a really good advantage on that first 4 or 5 laps. We've got Mark Schluter there going a little bit wide, letting Philip Sauter through into P10. On board with Lefty still. Down towards turn 1 we go. Let's see. And also we got Cameron fighting Andre Molnar down towards turn 1 as well. There we go, Lefty on the back. Gaining, side by side into turn 1. He's going to brake later. Yes, he is. Nearly hits a Mercedes there from my view. Gets into P5. Now his next rival is Modesto Mena, who's 8 tenths behind the back of Yannick Schmidt.
Well, say what you want about these soft compounds, but you can't deny the amount of pace they have when they are fresh, and Lefty's using it to best effect while he has them. So yeah, P6 now already closing that gap on Modesto Mena, making full use of that extra grip. And while he's on the red walls, Corner Backer and Tom are also switching onto the red walls, onto the softs, because they had that early incident. And like we were saying before about high versus low risk strategies, I think it wouldn't hurt for them to go on the softs, try and make a little bit of time up, potentially steal the fastest lap and go for a bit of points denial. But here we go, Lefted trying to close some gap to that Mercedes up ahead. Of course, can't do anything through Castle. but he can keep him close, can keep him honest, so that when the DRS comes and he has that ERS at his disposal, because Modesta Mena looks to be cooking a fair bit of it in the pursuit to keep up with Yannick Schmidt. Might be a chance for Lefty to pounce.
Could be. Into turn 15, Lefty just 3 tenths behind. Could see a bit of a battle going into turn 1 because obviously not going to get him into turn 16. But yeah, I'm starting to think maybe I know what Lefty's strategy is. So, going to the softs. Then, if he can get the softs to about 5 or 6 laps, that could be when the hard runners switch to the mediums. Meaning Lefty can then switch to mediums and also be in that train still of P6. So I think that's what his hope is. Stay till around lap 15. Keep in this train, get into the pits, get into mediums, then he's sorted, he's back into this train. But obviously he's going to go for a bit of a different route there, taking the soft, so he gets a little bit of battling as he works his way up the field. Obviously, you never know, he could get himself up into that top 3, because those softs are so much pace, but he's just going to make sure he can get it done in the corners, because on the straights he's not going to get anything done.
Yeah, say about, from what it looks like, about 30% on those softs so far, according to my numbers. And with that, he is going to be still having the pace. Might see a little bit of drop off soon. So I think Lefty knows, as he loses the rear ever so slightly. And that is the time that he's got to make it count. But yeah, I sort of had this inkling earlier that if it wasn't a blunder, maybe it was to try and get some fighting up on the field before matching the cadence of the hard runners.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see, as that pace seems to have slightly stagnated.
Yep, definitely. He hasn't got that ultimate charge he did before. But we're on board currently with Philip Sainzer, who's right at the back of Lars Butterman, battling for P9. And Philip's so close to the back of Lars, but Lars is able to defend so well on his tyres. So we're going to go on board with Philip and see can he get past anytime soon, because he's a lot quicker than Lars, but he just can't get through. And that's the issue. You know, it's all good being quick, but if you can't get through on the other drivers, there's not really much an advantage you've got. So we're going to keep on board with him now, into the final corner, turn 16, up towards turn 20. Let's see, can Philip get himself into P9? Currently in P10, started, I think it was P19, so he's not had the worst start in the world at all. And you can see, look, he's got a lot more pace than Lars has. Lars has got hardly any ERS, whereas Philip's got a lot more. Up the inside, pulls to the left. He's going to be charging down towards turn 1, side by side, brake later. With the better tyres, gets himself up into P9. Now he's charging after Zelenkiewicz in the Haas. So you can see Lars looking for a little bit more of an opening there, but couldn't find one, so had to concede. Now, let's see, can Philip get through on Zelenkiewicz? Because Zelenkiewicz had a really bad exit at turn 2, and he's actually going to go for it. Let's see, Zelenkiewicz in the middle of the field. Philip goes around the outside. Zelenkiewicz tries to push him into the wall a little bit there. Jesus Christ, a little bit of contact between those two. Zelenkiewicz keeps the position. Lefty, however, on the back of Modesta Mena now. Modesta Mena is nearly a second behind Yannick Schmidt. So we could see Lefty try and get himself into that top 5.
I think we might be seeing starting to see those softs starting to drop off properly now. Oh, very close there, big lock up there from Lefty just to hammer the point home. Now putting him right in the crosshairs of JST, but JST coming into the castle section has no choice but to yield, even with such an advantage presented to him. And really is just sort of in the sticks a little bit. But yeah, the softs 40%, hards 40%. We're about in that equilibrium point, but more importantly, those softs are really going to start going.
Yep, they are. So that's why Lefty probably wants to pit in a couple of laps time, get himself onto some mediums to the end. JST, it actually could work out for him. He started outside the top 10 in 14th, he's now in 7th. Could possibly finish in the top 10. Would be nice to get some points. Obviously, his championship rival Daniel Yeltsin's out, so he doesn't have to worry about Daniel. He doesn't have to worry about Daniel extending the gap in the championship. But he has got to worry about Yannick Schmidt getting past him in the championship. The level on points. Lefty's out. Is he retired in the pits or retired on track?
I don't know. I can't see.
Nor me.
Can't see. It's just completely disappeared.
That's an odd one. The car has disappeared completely.
No idea what happened there, but yeah, Lefty completely out of the picture now. What we thought would be the wild card of the session has fully gone wild and escaped the confines of the race. Oh. So now that leaves us with a top 7, all on 13-lap-old hards. Felipe Sousa, 7-lap-old mediums. Leroy, 7-lap-old hards. And Lars Botterman a little bit further lagging behind on those 13 lap hards, but also completely out of battery. And if he doesn't do something about it soon, a sitting duck, the likes of Cameron Dowds.
Someone said he rage quit. Even if he did though, his AO car would still go on track. That's the bit that confused me. But
from what I'm seeing, it says that the AlphaTauri AT03 retired terminally damaged. So maybe sent it into the pit lane.
Could have been.
Literally.
Well, that's not ideal. That would be 2 rage quits now in 3 races for Conor Muir, all lefted. Why would he retire? Don't know why he retired, because he could score some good points pitting onto mediums with the others, but don't know. But we're going to stand by JSD, he's now in 6th. Could actually extend the champ. Could actually, depending where he scores, he could actually get the championship lead back. 1, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, he could get the championship lead back by 1 point, depending where Yannick Schmidt finishes. If Yannick finishes in 4th, Yannick takes the championship lead. Ugh, can't get my words out. But if Jay finishes above Yannick, then Jay takes the lead as long as he's at 6th or higher. Samuel Komsky, the first to take the pit. It's going to see, does the undercut work? Because the other guys are saying out. So we're going to see, is that undercut going to be worth it for Simon? And if not, maybe people want to think about an overcut. Put it a little bit later than the others, than the predicted strategy. And get yourself a couple of positions that way. It's going to be interesting. But we'll have to see what happens. We're on board with JSD still as we're coming towards turn 5 and 6 on lap 15.
Really, Harvey Cohen's the decider of whether that overcut or undercut is going to be a strategy. So yeah. Simon Lekomsky, Jack Humphreys and Lars Botterman all in and out on the mediums. But yeah, like we were saying earlier, P2 and down, if you're all on the same strategy, you have to wait for P1 to make a decision before any of you in the rest of the running can. So I imagine that Harvey Cohen's going to take this as the signal to head onto the mediums now.
Could be. We'll have to see.
Is everyone else going to do the same, or are we going to see potentially overcuts at the same time?
Well, it's going to be interesting between these guys. Oh, that's Philip Sazer losing the rear end on the exit of 15. But one driver to look at, Modesto Mena, he's gone from, was it 14 up to 4th. So he's had a really good start, really strong start. So is JSD Zelenkiewicz. Those guys in the top 6. Maybe we'll see some of these pit now. Do we see any of them pits?
Yep, Harvey going into the pits. Gian Pietro stays out.
Jay into the pits. And Yannick. So
Ogiano and Mena both staying out from that top 6.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see what happens.
It's going to be interesting. But we're on the back of Philip Says, currently on the back of Leroy Brown. Looking to possibly get a move into P3 for provisional P3. Leroy obviously pitted a little bit earlier, so he's on 9-lap old hard, so he might try and take them to the end. I'm not sure if they will get to the end, but we'll have to see. Harvey's come out in P8 on his new mediums. We'll go and put with Gian Pietro in a second when he gets to the pit lane to see if he'll come out ahead or below, behind Harvey. And where's Yannick come out? Yannick come out in 10th. Jay and Zelenkiewicz 11 and 12th. So this could be interesting. Obviously Simon's looking at a P2 at the moment. Mark Schluter, however, he's actually goes behind these guys now. Got the P13. Oh, big snap from Philip Sacer into that Castle section. Going on board with Modesto Mena and Gian Pietro Giano to see if they pit anytime soon, which I believe they would. It would be stupid not to pit at the moment because I don't think the overcut will work around here too much. We'll have to see. Simon is actually in the DRS of Harvey, so he could get the P2 over Gian Pietro. But
yeah,
a couple of tenths can decide it all.
It really will be those couple of tenths. I think, say, Gian Pietro and Modesto Mena were just sort of looking for that opportunity to run in clean air, thinking that might be a little bit of a help in their race efforts in their terms of the win.
Into the pits.
Yeah, that does beg the question of who is going to come out on top now, as you've got them quickly rushing into the pits. Harvey Cohen is going to be heading down the straight to sort of the quote-unquote leader of that previous cohort. And where are they going to come out and say, start-finish straight now? Modesto, Mena and Gian Pietro both going to be coming out behind. And in fact, Gian Pietro is going to be slotted behind Simon Lekomsky and Yannick Schmidt.
Yep.
So the two of them in fact, going to be operating at a net loss. And Modesto Mena on cold mediums is immediately going to be under pressure and overtaken by JSD.
Yep, that's not good for those two, Gianpietro and Modesto. The overcut seems to have definitely not worked, because Gianpietro was P2 a minute ago, now he's net P4, with JSD net P5. But the thing is, we say net P1, P5 now, but the thing is, the top 6, they might try and stay out. Cameron Dowds possibly could stay out. Not quite sure, but he could try. And you never know, he could end up finishing ahead of Harvey, depending on what his strategy is. But if Harvey and Philip work together, I could see Philip slowing down the guys in ahead to get Harvey through. Andre won't be much of a threat, nor will Bogdan, but Cameron, I'm not quite sure. Leroy, he's also could make it to the end on his tyres, so that'll be an interesting one. Andre has got past Bogdan down at turn 15, so that's Andre to P4 now, Bogdan down to P5. We've got what? 9 laps remaining, so I think it is possible for Leroy to get to the end. 90 lap made hards. It's going to be a struggle, but definitely possible. So yeah, but look at Harvey's gained 3 seconds, sorry, on Andre and Bogdan, and they both go into the pits. No, Bogdan thought about it, but stays out. Andre, however, goes into the pits. He'll be pitting on to mediums. Soft one at the end, I don't think for sure. Well, we won't benefit from it anyway. So yeah, Harvey in 5th, just 4 seconds behind Bogdan now.
There you go, that is medium compound for Andre Molnar. And yeah, with almost like a bait and switch in a way. Like, I thought that Andre was going to pit last lap, seeing as their tyres were coming up to about 50%. And the hards, really, they're mile crunchers. You don't want to be then on those white walls for any longer than you have to before you can switch to something like the medium or the soft. Tom is going to be coming in after 7 laps of soft running and going to be coming out onto a fresh set of soft. So curious choice. We'll have to see how their race strategy fares. Yeah. And then only 3 other cars still remain on the hard compound. Leroy with 11 laps, Bogdan with 13, and then Corne de Baca also with 11 lap old hards.
Yeah. But I've got the gap to leader on now, so we can have a look at how quickly Harvey's crunching down Leroy's times and getting close to Leroy. So currently 9 seconds between Leroy and Harvey, 10 seconds between Simon and Leroy. So the question is, when does Harvey close in and close in and close in? Obviously, he'll be getting close to Bogdan soon, so we can get a little bit. He actually will get DRS off Bogdan. We'll go back on board with Harvey. Let's have a little look now. Has he got the DRS? I think he has. On the back of Bogdan Moldovan now. 8.6 seconds. If Leroy wants to make this work, he's got to really put up a fight in the next few laps, because it's going to be very, very close between him and Harvey. Harvey now into P4. Fastest lap of 40.5. Bogdan just behind now. And look at that. Yannick and Simon, they must have had a battle, because they've dropped completely from Harvey and Bogdan. They're about 1.5 seconds back from Bogdan. Also, that's JSD. He's lost some positions. He's dropped down to 13th, 14th now. That could be JSD out of the race, technically, for points. Obviously, he's not out of the race, but when it comes to points, that's JSD's race over. Which
completely lost it coming out of the first corner. So he was really just on the struggle bus, I have to say, for lack of a better term. Because when you look at the likes of the top end of the field, and with some of them, like Harvey, pulling out over 2 seconds compared to the rest of the field, and easily chewing the miles compared to someone like Bogdan, who's on those 14 lap old hards.
Yeah.
It's kind of just completely out of the running at that stage.
Definitely. So looking here, look at that. Harvey 7.1 seconds. Bogdan is defending from Yannick and Simon. So look at this advantage Harvey's got now. He's not going to be in DRS from Yannick, because they're 2.5 seconds apart. So we're going to go on board with Yannick, actually, because Yannick will be eager to get past Bogdan now going into turn 15. Can't get through. This is absolutely amazing for Harvey Cohen. Now the gap between him and Yannick is around 3 seconds. Yannick still can't get through on Bogdan. Bogdan making his car an absolute wall as they come in towards turn 17 now. And surely he'll get through going down towards turn 1. We'll keep on board with him. He's going to get, he is. We'll go on board with Simon Komsky next. Look at that. Yannick's not messing around anymore. Philip and Cameron fighting. Yannick's through. Let's see. Is Simon going to get through? I think he will. Is Gianpietro going to get through? I think he will. Modesto won't. Oh, actually, Gianpietro still behind Bogdan. Not good for him at all, but he's going to go up the inside into turn 2 now. Gets up the inside of Bogdan. Bogdan's still going to fight it. Ooh, bit of a barge there. Bogdan now down to 7th, sorry. So that's him done for that guy's name, but there's Salmania now through on him. So Bogdan's lost 5 positions in the last half a lap. And he's also got Zanakiewicz just behind as well.
I think in Bogdan's mind, it's just they knew what they had to do. They knew that they were kind of stuck and really sort of committed, I'd say, a bit too hard to trying to defend position rather than going into the pits, maybe going for something like a final soft stint, even if it did cost them. Arguably, I'd say it's costing them more trying to limp these hard compounds around right now in a sea of yellow walls.
Yeah. On the back of Harvey currently, watching, going for Cameron. Look how close he's, but he just can't get through. The gap now between him and Leroy is 6.3 seconds, so Harvey's starting to lose a little bit of time here to Leroy due to Cameron being the big wall in the way this time. Last time it was Bogdan, this time it's Harvey, Cameron Dowds. On 12 lap old mediums, obviously he's going to be a lot slower. Question is, when is Harvey going to get through? Because depends on how much. Let's look how much ERS Cameron's got. Cameron's got like 50%, so he could actually try and defend from Harvey with his ERS. We'll see. Is he burning? No, he's not, but he might do. Let's see. What's his plan? Harvey's gaining. Cameron's pushing. Harvey's pushing still. Down towards turn 1. And it just seems like Harvey's not gaining too much. And Cameron's not even going to defend. I thought he might make a little bit of a battle between those two in towards turn 1. But yeah, Cameron concedes down to P3 now on his old mediums. That's Cameron's little battle with Harvey over. Now he's going to try and defend from Yannick Schmidt, who'll be after him very, very shortly. But yeah, now the main battle is between Harvey and Leroy. 5 laps to go, 6 seconds between them. What do you think is going to happen, Sappy?
I think it's going to be tight, but ultimately I think those hards are just going to prove such a pace deficit that Harvey is going to claw that gap down in no time. I mean, you look at it, in the time I've just talked about this segment, already down to 5.8, and that's really a single corner.
Yeah.
So it's going to be just absolutely demolished, and especially as those hards reach the drop-off point. They're about, I'd say, if I had to make a guess, about around the 45% mark right now.
Yeah.
Again, you don't want to be on those hards any longer than you have to, and Leroy definitely is kind of pushing the limits for what defines have to.
Yeah, definitely. On board with Yannick Schmidt, who's currently on the back, well, trying to get on the back of Cameron Downs. Tom Lukomski's actually lost out from Mick a little bit, and you've got Jan Pietro right behind. Corner in the back is out, retired the pit lane. So I thought that could have been a safety car then, but no, it's not. So that's corner in the back is a session in the Aston Martin, meaning, oh yeah, Aston Martin will score points because Yannick Schmidt's going to score points, so that's good for Aston Martin and Mercedes, as they'll score points as well with Salmania. So that's good for them. On board with on board with Gianpietro Oggiano. He's on the back of Simon Lukomski, who hasn't got DRS, I don't think, to the back of Yannick. But Yannick has got DRS to Cameron Dowds as they go down in towards turn 1 now. Yep, that's Yannick through into P3. Cameron Dowds still in P4. But the thing is, Cameron could possibly hold up a few positions and could probably finish in that top 10. Oh, he's going to push for Yannick there up the outside. But yeah, that's all he can do. So now Cameron's going to be charging after Yannick down towards turn 3, but he's obviously not going to be close enough at all. So yep, that's Cameron's work done with Yannick, and he's got to now defend from Simon Lukomski. So Cameron's got a lot of defending to do. He's going to make sure it works well, because we've also got Gianpietro Salmania fighting Simon, so it's going to be very close between these 4. But look at this gap now, it's down to 4.4 seconds. Is it enough? That's the question.
I would say that we're sort of hitting that cross point now, and I would say that they would certainly come in with contention of each other. Is it going to be enough to make a pass? That I couldn't tell you, because Leroy's kind of cruising and is burning the ERS slowly. It's about 30% right now. Harvey's basically absolutely skint on the battery side of things, but is clawing away at that time regardless. So Leroy, if he runs consistently, really maximizes that battery and maximizes that ERS charge, will be a fighting chance. There will be a fighting chance for him to keep at bay. Yeah. But just how far it will stretch, I don't know, because we're down to almost 3.5 seconds. And that is an extra half second compared to the lap previous in terms of time lost. Yeah,
it's going to be very close on between these guys. We're going to go back on board with Gianpietro and Simon. As Gianpietro gets through and Simon now. Oh, look at this. Modesto's getting involved as well. You see the bit. Oh, That's Simon going for the middle of them both. Into turn 1, 3 wide. Oh, need a collision there. Cameron down to P6. Pietro into P4. And Simon in P5. Modesto managed just to sit at the back of these lot. Modesto up the side, inside of Cameron into turn 2. Cameron's now down to P7. Has lost 8 complete to these guys here. But that was a very close battle between those. And actually, Cameron's going to fight Modesto back. But yeah, not close enough at all. So that was a nice little battle between those. It got a bit scary down towards turn 1.
Yeah, that did get a little bit nerve-wracking. You saw Simon, you saw almost all of the decisions going on in his head. As we went down the start-finish straight, you saw those micro twitches in the steering wheel thinking, right, can I go left? No, not enough room. Can I go right? No, you've got Gianpietro there. Actually, no, there's a little bit of window. Screw it, I'm going for it.
Yep, straight for the middle, and surprisingly...
That process in real time, and you have to give credit to the drivers because it is all in real time. We, of course, can sit here in the commentary box or in the chat and say, you should have gone here, you should have gone there, but these drivers, they've got so much to manage and process. ERS, throttle control, brake control, tyre management, you name it. And it's all within fractions of a second that can make or break a race.
So, I'm going to say one thing now, and this race reminds me, you probably know why, but it reminds me of COTA 2022. Between Hamilton and Max. Hamilton was obviously on the older tyres. Max was on the new ones. It was really, really close between those two, but Max got through. I think it was about 2 laps before the end or something like that. And this looks like it's going to be a close one between Harvey and Leroy. Because it's 2.3 seconds. On the last lap, it was 2.8. So he's only gained 7/10 this lap. So the question is it enough? Because yes, he can get into 1 second get the DRS, but you know, can he get past Leroy? Because look at DRS. Harvey's got none. Leroy's got 30% still. So it's going to be a close one. It's 2 seconds now, the gap between Leroy and Harvey. These are definitely the main guys in the battle. Yannick's going to possibly finish P3. If he does so, he'll take lead of the championship. By, I think, about 4 points. No, about 7 points he'll take the Leaders' Championship by. Depending on where. Oh, wait, Jay's in 15th. So, yeah, he'll take lead by about 7 points going into the next round. Obviously, Daniel and Jay haven't scored. Cameron's down in 8th, so he can't outscore Yannick. But now look at this, 1.8, 1.7 between these two. Red Bull versus McLaren, McLaren versus Red Bull, Harvey versus Leroy. This is going to be a close one. Get to the end if everyone's here now. Make sure you keep watching. We've got 2 laps left. Probably about, what, 2.1 laps left. It's going to be down to the line. Can Harvey get through on Leroy? We're nearly going to start in the Pullton Ultimate lap. Tom Martinez is out in the pit lane. He's retired. Knows he can't do anything. That's him out of the session. Yep, 1.3 seconds now. He's not going to get DRS this time, but he could get it next time, I think.
I can't help but feel like in the back of the minds of like any driver who retires in the pit lane, there's a little voice on their shoulder going, save the car, retire in the pit lane. But then you think, hang on, this isn't like a fully regulated season. You're not saving cars. This is the game. But regardless, 1.3 seconds between Harvey Cohen and Leroy Brown. You look at the likes of Yannick Schmidt and Gianpietro Giano, they have about 2.4 seconds between all of them, and that has remained constant. So we're on the penultimate lap, but I don't think it's going to be enough time for these drivers in P3, 4. Maybe Modesto Mena can get a bit of a challenge down, but Simon Komsky is breathing down his neck by comparison, so he's got bigger priorities on his plate. But the big priority on Harvey Cohen's plate is that he's now in DRS range.
Yeah, that's the thing that Harvey needed. That's the thing that he wanted. He's got it. He's got the DRS. We've got 1.5 laps remaining in this race, and Harvey's within 1 second for the first time in, I think, 10 laps. So he's got one possibility, which is, well, actually, he could have 2 possibilities down towards turn 1. Obviously, on the last lap, it was down towards the start-finish straight. He's in within 6 tenths now. Leroy's definitely going to secure himself a P2, and if he does, bravo to Leroy. That is absolutely amazing. I can't remember where he started, but if he can finish second, that'll be absolutely amazing for him in the championship as well. It'll get him a little bit closer to the guys at the front. But 6 tenths now, 4 tenths now is the gap between Leroy and Harvey. It's going to crawl into 3 tenths. This is going to be make or break.
We're on board. P9, up in P1 now, so great job regardless of how you slice it from Leroy. But there you go, DRS in range. That's the activation cue right there. And there you go, 1.5 tenths. Leroy is going to have a bit more ERS to go on the defense, but it's not going to be enough, and I think he knows it. The best he can beg for is saving everything into a counter-attack through heading into turn 3. But whether he can make it stick, that is the question. Of course, you've got medium, you've got hard, and I am certainly waiting to see what happens. He's going to have the DRS, but no, Harvey's just going to have the getaway. Despite having over 6 seconds of gap, the pace deficit of the hard is just too much to bear. It's not going to be enough to return to sender and return to P1. Harvey looks like he has this.
So one round, that's Bogdan down at turn 1. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be in the hands of Harvey Cohen. But it's been a big fight from Leroy. You can't deny it from that. He's tried hard. He's, pushed these tyres 19 laps. And he's got it to the end. He'll be taking a P2, which is better than nothing. And do you know one thing I've noticed? No track limit penalties at all for anyone, which is good to see.
That's because your track limits are the wall.
True, but you can normally lose track limits down at turn 12.
Yeah, I think at this level and with it being Baku, I think drivers just associate track limits with, okay, I got way too close to the wall here. Let's just not do that.
But the final corners for Harvey Cohen now. He started up in second in the sprint race, finished first in the sprint race, took his first win, and he's now coming home to take his second win of the season, taking a double win at Azerbaijan. He had a massive fight with Leroy, had to gain 10 seconds, and he's done it. Harvey Cohen wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Leroy Brown takes second within a superb strategy, and Yannick Schmidt comes home third and takes lead of the championship going into round 4.
And what a run it was. But yes, a fighting absolutely to the end there. Great undercut compared to the other guys like Ogiano and Modesto Mena. Went for that overcut, didn't work in their favor. Still secured a P4 and P5, so a net positive certainly for Modesto Mena, up 8 positions. And then yeah, Bogdan is going to have a retirement and crashed out in the wall heading into the third sector. Yeah, was completely struggling on those hard tyres, to be fair, about 70% on them, and was just really coping there.
Yeah, but our top 10 consists of Lars Butterman, Jack Humphries, Cameron Dowds, Timo Zelikiewicz, Samuel Komsky, Modesto Mena with a superb finish at P5, Gianpietro Ogiano, Yannick Schmidt, Leroy Brown and Harvey Cohen taking his second win of the season here in Tier 2. His first win was actually just about an hour ago. So he's got 2 wins in about an hour, which is absolutely amazing for Harvey. You can't knock him. Same with Leroy. Leroy had an amazing strategy, and Modesto Mena. Like, some of these guys at the front today took some really, really different strategies to normal, and they've paid off heavily. But I would say for me, Leroy Brown's my driver of the day. I think that's pretty certain to say for me. What about you, Sappy? Who's your driver of the day?
You know what, I'd be rude to disagree, because in the midst of everyone going on to the mediums, going for a fairly traditional strategy, Leroy made a P2 out of sticking onto a really suboptimal tyre. He made it work. So yeah, as I come onto the podium now, that Red Bull outfit in at P2 absolutely deserved.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to actually see if we can get some interviewers in. It would be nice to get some people into an interview. Possibly be nice to see Harvey, Leroy, Yannick. Would be nice, but we'll have to see. Yeah, absolutely amazing race that was. I loved it. I don't normally like, I'll be honest, I don't normally like the Azerbaijan races because they tend to be a little bit dry. But this one, it had a nice essence of, it was everyone pushing for each other. You had Harvey chasing down Leroy. You had about 5 cars chasing down Cameron Dowds, and you had on the last lap, I think it was Jack Humphries chasing down Cameron. They finished about 300ths apart, but Harvey Cohen takes 33 points home today. 33 points, which it's astonishing. He's took as maximum points as he could. Ogiano's got 19. Leroy and Yannick both finished with 18 today, so absolutely amazing from those guys. And then you look down, Lars Button with 1 point, Tony Richet, 2 points, helps Mercedes. Aston Martin obviously scoring 18 points, so they put themselves into the championship with actually some points. So yeah, it's been a good one for the teams that haven't got many points. But Alpine as well, that's one to talk about. 19 and 9, that's what? 28 points, I think.
28.
And we've got an interviewee. That will be Harvey Cohen. I'm going to drag him in 1 second. I'm just going to have a little interview screen on. There we go. And I'm very sorry, but I forgot to play the Williams ad. I'll have to play that at the end. But where is he? Here he is, Harvey.
Hello, hello.
It's been a long time.
It has
But
indeed.
amazing race. Well, obviously it went well, but how did it go for you? Is there anything you could probably have improved on in that race?
Yeah. I think sometimes, I made a couple mistakes, and I think
Mhm.
maybe getting through traffic that I got slowed down quite a bit by that. But
Yeah.
other than that, I can't really complain too much.
Mhm.
Got blocked in quali, which is unfortunate, but I made up for it in the sprint race.
Mhm.
And then yeah, that put me in a really good position to, have a really, really good and enjoyable main race. So
Mhm.
yeah, pretty happy with that.
Yeah. He was obviously charging down after Leroy on the last few laps. Did you think you'd be able to catch him, or do you think it was a bit of I might not actually get him into the fast couple of laps?
Around about lap 20, I was starting to doubt myself a little bit. It's
Mhm.
just as I got past Cameron, I was like, okay, this gap's looking very, very big.
Mhm.
But I just knew that anything can happen. So I just kind of put my head down and got on with it. And I saw that I was gaining 1.2, 1.6, 1.5 on him per lap. And I just thought, I think that's enough to get him on the last
Yeah.
lap. I'll just absolutely go for it.
Mhm.
And luckily it was enough.
Obviously, you got 33 points from here, which is absolutely amazing. I don't know where you'll be in the standings, but he'll probably be in the top three. Do you think a championship fight's on?
Of course it is. I
Yeah.
mean, why wouldn't it be? We're so early in the season.
Mm,
I've got to be faithful in myself. Got to be
exactly.
hopeful.
Well,
So we'll just give it our best. See what happens.
well, then again, I think was it F4 last season PSGL? You was like what, fifth in the championship. You ended up coming nearly to winning it, wasn't you, on the last race?
Yeah,
So
nearly. Yeah.
got to push yourself, haven't you? Who would you say is your biggest competitors, in your opinion?
Um, I'm not too sure to be honest. I mean, you've got the likes of you've got Cameron Dowd in here, who's
Mhm.
really really quick. He's really young and upcoming. You've got the typical people like Leroy. He's rapid, always has been
Mhm.
rapid, always will be. Shimon Lakomsky, he's someone that kind of has come up in pace recently.
Yeah.
Um, But I think other than that, everyone's really on the same pace in this tier.
Mhm.
Every race anyone could win.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the youngsters like PSR Nick in here who just moved to PC and they're finding their feet. Once he gets up to speed, he's going to be rapid as well. So,
Mhm.
like I said, kind of everyone's really
Yeah.
on the cards as being in contention, being a rival, I guess you could say.
Mhm. Anything from you, Sappy?
I say hit it on the head for me. In terms of, and this is something we discussed in the commentary box, is choosing when to pit. And a lot of it, I think it's fair to say, comes down to what your opponents are doing around you. So, of course, seeing when you had, I believe, I can't remember who it was, but there was a couple of drivers who pitted a lap before you.
Hmm.
Was that when you made the decision to pit as well, or was it more of a just sort of a you planned this from the beginning? Like what I'm trying to say is, was it reactionary, or did you have a very set plan in mind for the course of today's race?
I mean, going into it, I was looking at pitting quite early. But I think the safety car kind of pushed it back, so the lap I did pit was the lap I was going to pit on, whatever. Um, but yeah, I think what happened is I just kind of pushed more on my own lap. Once I saw some guys behind me pit, I think Richie saw it a bit in PSGL last season where I'm kind of good on my in laps or
Yeah.
out laps, to make sure I get the gap.
Mhm.
So I just made sure I push a little bit harder, got a bit of a gap, and I managed to come out
Yeah.
quite a bit ahead in racing terms.
Obviously, one last thing before we let you go. Obviously, you come out ahead of I think it was Simon and Yannick, and then the Bogdan was holding it up completely. So it gave you a bit of free air. Was that kind of a sigh of relief, knowing that you don't have them two behind you with the DRS as well?
Um, it was a little bit, but to be honest, I wasn't really focused on that. I was just
Mhm.
focused on my own race and trying to gain as many positions as I
Yeah.
could. I was aware they were there, but I knew that, or at least I felt like I had the pace that, if need be, if they were starting to challenge me, I'd be able to hold on for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just kind of focused on getting one car at a time, going to the next cars ahead.
Yep. But Harvey, thanks for joining us. It's nice to have a chat with you, and we'll see
Thank
you
you for having me.
next week. All right. See you
Yeah, see
later.
you next week. Bye.
Bye. Right. So there we are. We're here. Let me just get you on the full screen. here we are, and it's the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Amazing, I loved it. I still can't decide whether it's my favourite race of the season yet. Obviously, we're only 3 races in. But Coulter and Brazil were also really strong races, which is nice to see. The first 3 races, obviously, Coulter and Brazil, Coulter and Azerbaijan, you don't always see the highest levels of racing, but we did here today. We saw lots of battles. Obviously, Brazil, you always going to see battling in Brazil. So I'd say the first 3 races have been really strong for this tier. And I think going into the next few rounds, it's going to be even more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to chalk up this race to be the best so far, purely because we had drama up and down the field.
Yeah.
We had, of course, that last lap dash from Harvey.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fighting in the mid pack. You had a lot of retirements at the pit lane, some completely unexpected turnarounds, and some early lap dramas that you really only get to see in races like these. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next few races. I'm looking forward to Spa. I'm looking forward to Portimao in particular because that's a little bit personal. Hits a bit close to home. But yeah, this has probably been the best to date.
Yeah, it's been a good race, and everyone in the chat, let us know what you think of the race. Yeah, it's been amazing. And when it comes to the championship, at the start of the season, after Coulter, I thought, you know what, Daniel's got a good chance at this, but now it's hard to call because you've got Yannick Schmidt, you've got Jay will still be in it, you've got Daniel still in it, you've got Harvey, Leroy. So it's really hard to think, actually, who could do it. We could have possibly 3, 4, 5 battle towards the end of the season if these guys are still putting in the consistent results. Obviously, for Daniel, big shame he retired. He was running P5, would have probably finished around there anyway. So, that's a big loss for him this race, and that's probably one of the races he'll want to forget, definitely after retiring on his... Didn't even get to the pit stop, did he, before retiring?
No, unfortunately not. I don't know. In terms of consistency, Yannick Schmidt, definitely keep an eye on because they've put in performance after performance, and despite being listed as a reserve, have been one of the most consistent elements of the field so far.
Actually, he's scored. Yep, he's actually the only driver, I think, to score podiums in every race. Second, third, I think it's like that. Whereas, obviously, Daniel was second and first. Obviously, he's DNF this race, so he's not going to score a podium. So, yep, Yannick's the only one to score podiums consistently so far this season out of all 3 rounds. So, yep, he definitely going to be one we're going to look for coming to the end of the season. But enough of us rabbiting onto you all. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, as usual. And we'll be back next week for round 4. Should I actually remember what track it's at?
We will be heading to Belgium.
Spa's one of the... Yeah, it's definitely an iconic track. I love the track, so that's going to be an interesting one. So, we'll see you next week at Spa, everyone. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.